if you would like your online business where you sell your digital products and get paid and paid and paid, this video will help you today. And I'm going to show you the 3 things that you need. These are so significant in order to you having success. And I'm going to share based on a powerful parable in the Bible that Jesus gave, which will totally unlock everything for you. And then I'm going to show you how to create your first $7 digital product that continues to pay you and pay you and pay you. So buckle up. So I'm not going to really draw much in this video. I just want to draw this quickly so you can understand this a lot. I want you to think about it like this, right? There's 3 pillars to this foundation. We all want, like, let's just say the gold. We want the result, right? Which is above, right? Which is built upon the foundation. But what you need to realize is that there's 3 things which hold everything up. And these are the 3 things. Number 1, number 2, and number 3 that I'm going to focus on in today's video. And then, like I said, I'm going to show you exactly what to do after this. This is so significant because so many people miss this. I spoke about this in a recent video where I was talking about like why so many people. I talked about the 3 stages, and I'll leave that linked in the description box actually below to help you watch it if you want to watch that after. But so the parable I'm going to be reading today is in the Gospel of Luke, and it's a powerful parable that you probably know and have read so many different times, but never in this way. So it starts in Luke chapter 15 verse 11, and it says, "And he said, a certain man had 2 sons." So this individual has 2 sons. Verse 12 says, "And the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falls to me. And he divided unto them his living." So I remember reading this like in the first couple of times and thinking to myself, like, wow, like this guy is deep. But I want you to understand before we continue that this wasn't in that culture in the first century. Like, it wasn't rare. I'll just put it like that. People did actually do stuff like this, where they would ask their father for an inheritance even before the father died, right? And even as I say this, I think about examples in the Old Testament, like Abraham giving stuff to some of his children, but giving Isaac the inheritance, stuff like that, right? They would do stuff like that in the past. It's not as negative as it actually seems, but we continue. So he's asking for a portion of his inheritance. And it says in verse 13, "And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country. And there he wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in that land, and he began to be in want. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into his fields to feed swine. And he would have fain filled his belly with the husks that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him." Now, this is a powerful scenario on so many different levels before we really get to step number 1. So just to set the scene here, this individual, he's taken his portion of the inheritance from his father, and it's mind-boggling to me, right? Not many days after, the Bible says, he took the inheritance and he left. But not only does the Bible say he left, it says he left and went to a far country. He went to a far country. And the reason this is so significant is because this is what, when I think back to myself, right? When I think back to things I've done in the past, before I've got to where I'm at right now, we all go on this sort of journey where we leave God, we leave God's principles, and we try to do things ourselves. We try to do things on our own. And this is why I teach business based on the Bible, because the Bible has all of the answers to all problems in all verticals in life. The biggest problem, which is sin, the Bible has a solution for that. And if it has a solution for the biggest problem, it obviously has, just by simple logic, has solutions for smaller problems. And business is a smaller problem than sin, just for the record. So this son goes out on his own. He goes into a far country. So that shows you he's trying to go as far away as possible. He wants to leave the father. And when I think about this from a business perspective, I say to myself, you know what? Man, was I a fool back in the day when I was trying to run a business based on worldly principles, based on how people did it in the world, and not based on what I'm doing now, based on how things are done in the word. And it's almost like, and I guess Jesus says it, like, you can't serve 2 masters. You'll hate one and love the other, or love one and hate the other. And it's like, that makes so much sense now as I say this, because if you're not going to follow God's frameworks, if you're not going to be praying and seeking God for, Lord, how do I use your word to blow up my business in a positive way. If you're not going to be doing that, well, you're obviously going to go as far away from that as possible. And this is what this son did. And what happened to this son is what happens to so many of us when we're Christians. We're praying for financial breakthrough. We're praying for our business to prosper, but we're not doing what God says. And then we're surprised when the results don't come. I pray for my business to prosper. I pray for success in my business. And I'm expecting it. Why? Because number one, God answers prayer. But number two, because I'm basing all the stuff I do based on the word. So he's in this situation. Things are difficult. Things are tough. He's in a broken situation at this point. And I spoke about this in a recent video. The two systems. There's the broken system, which is basically the world system. And there's the booming system, which is the word system, right? In verse 17, it says, and when he came to himself, he said, how many hired servants of my father's have bread enough to eat and to spare, and I perish with hunger? If you desire to have a profitable online business, the first thing that you need to do is what that verse just said this son did. After going on a long journey, after blowing all of his inheritance, right? It didn't take long for him to blow his inheritance, and it doesn't take us long to blow up what we have when we leave God's protection, right? And we leave God's principles. It says in verse 17, when he came to himself. So many people are fed up working 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week, right? These are the people I help on a day-to-day basis. They are fed up in that system. They're tired of working in that system. But you know what has to happen before they get to the realization that, you know what? Well, the online business is the way to go. They have to do what I did once in the past. They have to do what this individual did at this particular point in time. He came to himself. In simple terms, he woke up. He was enlightened. He had a moment of clarity when he realized, you know what? This system is broken. He doesn't want to be here begging. He doesn't want to be here eating with a swine, eating with a pig. He left a place where he was royalty, where things were going well. He left that place. And that's the same realization I came to years ago. I was like, you know what? Lord, all of the answers are here in your word. And if I just dug deeper into them and started searching you out for business principles in this, like, it would have been successful. But I, just like this individual, went off and said, you know, well, I'm going to go and do it my way. And that's where you can say good luck to that, right? Because God doesn't deal in the business with luck. Well, the moment you go into the world, luck is a real thing. Trust me. The first thing you need to do if you want to have an online business which is paying you on a day-to-day basis is you need to come to yourself. You need to realize that, you know, okay, cool. Me being in and out of this business, this vertical, isn't going to work. I need to be all in. And listen, I'm not saying quit your job. I'm not saying anything along those lines, but I'm trying to get you to realize that until you come to yourself and say, okay, you know what? I'm in. What I mean by being fully in is, I mean, you're committed to building your business on a day-to-day basis. If you want to know how to be productive and profitable and pleasurable week to week, I'm going to leave a video linked in the description box below, which is where I break down how to have the perfect week for yourself, right? But let's keep going. After you come to yourself, what is it that you have to do next if you want to create a profitable business online? As we continue in verse 17, I'll read 17 again. It says, and when he came to himself, he said, how many hired servants of my father's have bread enough to spare, and I perish with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you, and am no more worthy to be called your son. Make me as one of your hired servants. After you come to yourself, the second pillar that you need in order to have a successful online business is you need to make a decision. You need to decide. You see, I will speak about this from time to time with people. Many people will continue to lie to themselves and say, you know what? It's all rosy. They're in a house that's burning down, but they're saying, you know what, everything's cool, right? It's good. Like, no, it's not cool. The house is on fire. But there are people that wake up and they come to the realization, they acknowledge, you know what, this isn't working. I don't like this. I don't want to be in a house that's on fire. I want to be in a house that's peaceful, right? Etc. After waking up, after coming to yourself, the next thing that you have to do is you need to make a decision. You need to decide, right? What did he do? He said, you know what? I'm going to go home, because going home makes more sense than staying here eating alongside a pig like I'm an animal. And the reason why this is so significant, I'm driving this point home, is because it's difficult. What do you think this son was going through? A son who's probably thought, you know what, I know what I'm doing, hence why he's going to a far country. He didn't want any support system, clearly, and he lost everything. Imagine that son coming home. Now it makes more sense why he's turning around saying, I'm just going to come back and say, look, I'm not even worthy, right? Don't even call me a son. Just let me be like one of the servants. Why is he saying? Because he realizes how badly he messed up. When I started this business, right, after flaming out in my first business, after starting business with the right intentions, but getting to a point where I was just like, you know what, I'm just chasing money. And when you chase money, I've got a video on that, right? I'll leave it linked as well, right? You eventually are going to lose. Hence, like what's happening with this guy here, right? So you don't chase money. But I had to say to myself, you know, okay, Lord, I've messed up. I'm coming back. Like, help me, guide me. And hence why now, all the business stuff I'm doing, it has to line up with the Bible, it has to be fully in line so I can get the results that God desires me to get, right? And I'm not going to flame out in the future. So you have to decide. You have to acknowledge that, you know, I've made mistakes, and now I'm deciding today to go this way, which is also the right way. Going back home to his father was the best decision this guy could do. Basing your online business or any business you're running based on biblical principles in the word is the best thing that you can do. That will give you the best opportunity to prosper in your business. Now, notice what happens next, right? Which goes on to the third thing, which is significant as well. So he came to himself, he decided, and the next step is the most significant of the three. Notice it says in verse 20, and he arose and came to his father, it says, but when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion, and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. And the son said unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in thy sight, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. But the father said to his servants, Bring forth the best robe and put on him, and put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet. And it continues to go on. They make a sacrifice, they party, and they celebrate, and he's welcomed back into the house. The third step that you need to do, you've come to yourself, you've decided. The third thing that you need to do is start walking. So many people have that moment of realization. They say, you know what, yeah, I'm going to change, I'm going to do it. But if you never take the steps, if you never do it, you will never get the result. Notice he was in a blessed position. He went to the lowest of the lows and he came back to a blessed position. Why? Because God's principles are going to work for you when you start using them again in your business, the way you may do them in other areas of your life. Even though you may feel like a fool, even though you may feel like, oh Lord, how did I mess up so much? God is pleased that you're coming back to him. God is pleased, as the Bible says, draw close to me and I'll draw close to you. God desires you to come to him. God desires you to never leave him. But when you do leave him, if you ever do leave him, he wants you to come back. If you want a successful online business, you need to come to yourself, you need to decide, and you need to start walking. This is the foundational stuff, like I mentioned here at the beginning of this video. And if you want to know now, with this foundation in place, how to build successfully on this, watch this video right here next. It's going to show you how to create your first $7 digital product and then scale it. Go win, and God bless winners.